never thought that I would live to see the day when I would become a burden. When I was young, I built houses, worked with my hands, and was strong and confident. I had a family, a wife, a son, a daughter. I thought they'd be around in my old age, but now I'm sitting in a room with faded wallpaper, and all I have left is an old radio crackling in the corner. I wasn't sent here because I needed care. I can still serve myself, dress myself, and eat on my own. I just became uncomfortable. No one said it out loud, but it was written all over their faces. As you get older, your children call less and less, they come less and less often. At some point, they start sighing with every conversation. They say, "Dad, we're so busy. Dad, we'll try to come. You know, we're going through a difficult period." And then they just put you in front of the fact. A nursing home. A good one, dear. "You'll love it here, Dad." But I don't like it. The room they put me in is no different from dozens of others in this building. Narrow window, gray walls, bed, bedside table, wardrobe. I have a TV, but I don't turn it on. I don't like watching young people laugh in shows that I don't understand. A radio would be better. The old radio was probably there before my time. It looked like something from my youth. A large wooden box with faded buttons and a cracked volume control. He worked constantly. Music was playing, then one of the presenters was reading out the news. Then there were old radio plays. Voices, even if they were strangers, filled the room, making the loneliness a little less deafening. But sometimes there was interference. I've noticed this a few times. Suddenly, the sound would start to break off, and there would be a hiss, as if someone was tuning the wave. It only lasted a couple of seconds, and then everything returned to normal. I thought it was just the age of the radio or a signal outage. I didn't suspect anything, until I started noticing something strange. Death is a common occurrence in a nursing home. Here she comes quietly, without haste, as if she takes people away with the knowledge that no one will be particularly surprised. At some point, I realized that once a week, sometimes more often, someone leaves. Everything goes smoothly. In the evening, a person goes to bed, and in the morning his bed is already made with clean linens. The room is empty, and things are neatly folded in a cardboard box. Sometimes the staff leaves her at the reception desk. Relatives have to come and pick her up. But not always. Sometimes the box costs too long, and then things are given to those who may need them. I should get used to it, but I'm not used to it. Because I started noticing something strange. The first time it happened was when Mr. Harrison died, an old man with trembling hands and eyes that always seemed a little scared. I didn't know him very well, but sometimes we sat in the common room, looked out the window, and were silent. He died at night, in his sleep. The next morning, I heard the nurses in the hallway discussing it in a low voice. It's good that he didn't suffer. He was so afraid of that night. That evening, I was sitting in my room, as usual, listening to the radio. Suddenly, the sound stopped. The receiver crackled for a few seconds, as if someone was interfering with the signal. There was a short, distorted noise, as if someone's voice had broken through the ether, but I couldn't make out the words. And then everything became normal again. I didn't think much of it at the time. I chalked it up to interference. But a few days later, Mrs. Davenport died, an elderly woman with gray hair that she always carefully styled. She had 4 children, but none of them came. And again, in the evening the same day she left, the radio suddenly hissed. Then I started to notice a pattern. Every time someone died, the same thing followed. Silence, a crash, a crackle, something like words, but unintelligible, and then the usual broadcasting. At first I thought it was a coincidence. Then I tried to find a rational explanation. Could it be that the radio waves somehow react to the shutdown of the equipment in the deceased's room? Maybe it's just my fantasy? But the more often I noticed this, the more anxious I became. 3 more people died in the house, and each time the radio stuttered. On one of those nights, I couldn't stand it. When the static appeared on the air again, I abruptly leaned forward and turned the volume up to maximum. For a moment, it seemed to me that there was something else among the hissing. Someone's voice. But as soon as I listened, the interference disappeared, and the usual presenter cheerfully read out the weather forecast. Anxiety gripped me. I didn't know what to do about it. Should I tell someone? Who would believe an old man who was considered a burden by his own children? I decided to keep quiet, but I waited. And the next time the radio hisses again, I won't just listen. I'll try to understand what exactly is trying to break into the ether. I didn't sleep. It gets especially quiet at night in the nursing home. During the day, nurses walk through the corridors. You can hear the hum of televisions from the rooms, someone coughing, someone muttering to himself. But after midnight, there is real silence here. The kind that sometimes feels like the building itself is breathing in your ear. That night, I lay on my bed, listening to the steady hum of the radio. I knew that in the next wing, in room 214, Mr. Ellis was living out his last hours. He was older than me. He was almost 90. In recent days, he had stopped talking, just breathing heavily, staring at the ceiling. The doctor said it was only a matter of a few hours. I was waiting, and he waited. The radio shuddered. There was a crack, a hiss, but this time the interference did not disappear immediately. Instead, I heard voices, muffled, barely discernible, as if they were breaking through the water column. I listened intently, my heart pounding in my chest. Where am I? His voice was weak and confused. This? It can't be. I felt a chill run down my spine. Mary? Mary, are you there? The voice continued, full of hope and despair. Why is it so dark? I froze, afraid to even breathe. It was Mr. Ellis's voice. Oh, God. His voice trembled, and there was pain in it. I didn't think it was like that. I didn't have time to comprehend what exactly he wanted to say. The static jerked again, and suddenly the voice was replaced by another one. It's so warm. Someone was speaking hoarsely now, but there was no fear in that voice, only surprise and relief. God, what a beauty. The voice stopped, and immediately a new one began. No, 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 no. Someone screamed sharply, distorted by panic and horror. This is a mistake. I don't want to. I don't want to. I was startled. Let me go. The voice broke into a howl. I'll fix it. I'll fix it, I swear. You are welcome. But no one answered. The voice faded. Another voice broke through the ether, this time calm with a slight smile. Emma, I'm coming to you. I sat on the bed, clutching the arms of the chair, afraid to move. I understood. They were leaving, and their first words after death were a reflection of their lives. Those who lived with dignity left in peace. They felt light, warmth, and joy. They were happy. And those who lived wrong, they were afraid. Terror filled their last moments. They begged, they screamed, but they couldn't change anything. The voices became quieter, the ether cleared, and then the radio started playing some old 50s song again. I didn't know how long I sat there, listening to the emptiness. But the thought was already maturing in my head. It's not too late for me to fix something. I sat in the dark for a long time, listening to the radio, quietly humming an old song. But I couldn't hear the words anymore, couldn't distinguish the melody. There were other voices in my head, the voices of those who left. I thought about what their last words meant to them. For me, they didn't know what to expect. They couldn't prepare. Just once, and that's it. Their lives flashed before their eyes, and in that one moment it became clear exactly how they had lived it. What am I going to say? I wasn't a bad person, or at least that's how he comforted himself. But now, sitting in this tiny room, surrounded only by old wallpaper and a rattling radio, I realized that I had not lived my life the way I should have. I remembered the moments when I caused pain without even noticing it. How he said harsh words to his wife, leaving the house, and did not ask for forgiveness. How I turned my back on an old friend because we had a fight over nothing. As I didn't visit my parents as often as I could while they were alive. I remembered how sometimes I was indifferent to people who needed support. How he put himself above others, not thinking that everyone was carrying their own weight. And now I'm here. In this house, where life is fading, where there is more death than hope. And I don't want my voice to sound like the one that screamed in terror. I was scared. But the fear was replaced by another feeling. Determination. I'm still here. I can still fix something. Maybe I don't have much time, but while I have it, I have to use it. I thought about my son, who rarely comes. Maybe he just doesn't know how to talk to me. Maybe he's afraid of seeing me weak, old, helpless. Did I make it like this myself? I was strict with him as a child. I wanted him to be strong. I didn't let him show his emotions. Maybe now he just can't? I have to call him. Before it's too late. I thought about that woman in the dining room who always sits alone. I don't even know her name. Is she as lonely as I am? Maybe you should just sit down next to me and say, "How was your day?" I thought about my wife. She left 10 years ago, but I never apologized for hurting her. Would she hear me if I said it out loud? I sighed and looked at the radio. It calmly broadcast the weather forecast as if nothing had happened. I knew that I would listen to him in a different way now, not to kill the silence, and to remember. As long as the voice sounds in this world, as long as there is an opportunity to say something, you should not be silent. Because when the sound goes off the air, it can't be returned.